at the supermarket and I can't make a decision.
Well, I'm currently busy. Today, I'm joined by Tim Fury, founder of TradeView Markets, and we actually connected over a rugby introduction, and are both avid rugby fans. So welcome to the show, Tim.
Thank you.
All right. I was particularly keen to chat to you today because we were initially introduced via a mutual friend at the rugby club, and you were coming down here on vacation and then sort of set up businesses down here. But you've gone from, and I think I'm getting this right, you've gone from Donald Trump's driver to Wall Street trader and now to the Cayman Islands. So obviously your day-to-day is, founder of TradeView Markets, which is a trading platform, correct?
Correct. The story is I've always been in finance right after college. I started out as a commodity broker, then I was a commodity broker at Merrill Lynch Futures Division. Mm-hmm. It was an honor to get in there because I was the youngest guy they hired in like 40 years. And then the people I got to work with were there for 20, 30 years, a bunch of old timers. And here's this young guy that's coming in and, I wanted to learn everything and they were bored enough to teach me.
Yeah.
So that's where I got the passion is, in the markets. And then, after that, I had the opportunity to go to the Chicago Board of Trade to be a trader on the floor. Now,
how was that?
This is what you see in the movies, people yelling and screaming, hands up, buy, sell. And you're standing up all day, right? So, I was in my 30s, so no problem. I can stand up all day. You're buying and selling. You're trying to get every tick in the market. And it was a rough place.
Yeah.
And it's like going to school and everybody picks on you.
Yeah.
That's the way it was there on the Chicago Board of Trade. It was like they were mean, especially to the new guy. So I come in, everybody's picking on me, I'm trying to make a living, buy, sell. I'd say, after a couple months, I started picking it up. And then after a year, I started becoming successful down there. And, the problem with Chicago was just too cold for me. So eventually I had to move. And I switched gears and went down to Florida, started working for a small hedge fund as a proprietary trader.
Yeah.
I trade their capital and just trade the stock markets, and we trade their way, with their methodology. They taught us how to trade. This is the first time I actually learned that you could actually make money trading the markets with their philosophy. It lasted for a while, but when 9/11 came and the markets kind of collapsed, the industry consolidated, and there was, again, in between opportunities.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And is that, so when was TradeView born?
So I moved to New York, and it's funny, I started playing rugby in Florida.
Because you came to rugby late, right? How old were you when you first played?
I started in my 30s.
Okay.
And, I played football in college. And after that, there's nothing to do except flag football.
Yeah.
So when I moved down to Florida, in my in-between opportunity moment, I went down to a local bar to watch watch a game. And the two guys that were sitting next to me, we just struck up a conversation and just happened to be from my hometown in New York. They lived in Florida now.
Okay.
And they're like, yeah, we remember you and blah, blah, blah. And hey, you want to play rugby? So I'm like, well, I got nothing else going on. So I went out and played rugby. And this is, in 2000.
Yeah.
And I went down there, I went to the practice, and I'm like, hey, this is all right. I kind of like this.
Yeah.
And what I liked even more is, all of a sudden you have 60 instant friends when you move to a new town. So that's how I got involved with playing rugby, and I still had some left in me. And, I just started playing in my 30s.
Nice. No, good for you. And I love how you've kind of immersed yourself in the rugby club down here and very kind of generous with the sponsorship. I see the TradeView logo, literally every team going. And I think Cayman is just great for that. You've got a lot of people that move here all for the same for the same reasons, in order to have better work-life balance. And I feel as though there are a lot of generous people, on the islands, and it attracts a certain type of character. So no, Cayman is definitely a better place for having you in it. So TradeView sets up in New York, and then how did Cayman sort of get on the radar?
Yeah, we looked to get, we're a growing company, and we're looking to get regulated in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
One of the countries, I would say a lawyer friend that does business with hedge funds,
Mm-hmm.
New York City's a big hedge fund place.
Yeah.
It's like, Tim, you should look at Cayman Island. And I'm like, yeah. So we started looking into it, and then we applied to become a broker dealer.
Mm-hmm.
And, it took 2 years, but, thank God they said yes. And they let me in, and, this was in 2012, we got approved. From there, I started to come down to visit Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
I came down with my wife, and it was more of a vacation / work experience.
Yeah.
And then that's where I saw the rugby club.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, man, you guys have a clubhouse.
Yeah.
And you have a bar there.
Yeah.
In the clubhouse.
Cold beer.
Yeah. I'm like, dude, this is for me.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that in New York. I played rugby in New York. You kidding me?
I guess the
we have
club
to be
is
on the subway for an hour to get to our field.
Yeah.
Here, 10 minutes, I'm here in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. And I'm like, wow, I got to get down here.
Yeah.
And we did it. So we'd come down for the winter, because I won't do the cold.
Not in New York. And for sure. And that's why I think Cayman attracts a lot of East Coasters, and then also Canadians as well, because it's just so damn cold in the winter. And I think with the world getting smaller and smaller, and remote work being a commonplace these days, you're able to do those, a lot easier.
Yes.
No, love that. So I remember distinctly our sort of first interaction. So initially you were just looking for a place to rent, and then you ended up finding somewhere, driving over the whole island looking for land. And then we went to maybe houses, and then settled on 7 Mile Beach condos. Couldn't quite find what you were looking for, and you were off island at the time, and this new listing came to market, and I was like, Tim, I think this one's great. It's going to go quick because it's well priced. Are you able to come down and see it? Your schedule was very busy. You're like, dude, I just can't make that happen. I was like, oh, Matt, this is a real shame, because this is a great opportunity. It was the first, and then you said, yep, looks good. I sent a few videos. Let's buy it. And it was the first property that I'd sold that was sight unseen. And so I felt a lot of pressure there. So when you first initially came to view the property and walk through it in person, what was your honest initial reaction?
Yeah. All right. So, we, on the list, I wanted to be able to see the ocean in a condo. And 7 Mile, the demand was great for anything that had an ocean view. Mm-hmm. This place came available in Grapetree condos. And this was back, when was this, 2016?
Yeah, 15, 16.
Wow. This is when, prices were relatively
still
lower.
Affordable. Yeah.
But, yeah. And so, that was the most important. You couldn't find a condo with an ocean view,
Mm-hmm.
And then this came up, and we were on WhatsApp.
I think we were just WhatsApping.
Yeah, and you did a walkthrough video, and I'm like,
and it needed work. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, from there you negotiated the deal,
mm-hmm.
and you worked hard on it, and we got the deal.
Yeah.
And then my wife and I, we flew down. What was it, like in July or something? I don't know, like 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, it was a while after. But I remember actually on the negotiation, there was another party interested. So we had to make the offer as clean as possible, which thankfully you're able to do. But how was it a nerve-wracking experience for you had you ever bought any real estate outside of the US before?
Yes. Okay. Yes, I have. Yeah, I had an apartment in New York City.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Was it a nerve-wracking experience for you, or being that you hadn't even viewed the property?
You know what? you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
At least I can look at the ocean.
Yes,
But
yeah.
I remember my wife came down and her sister. Her sister's a designer from Miami.
Yeah.
So she came down to view the place. So I remember you gave us the key. You weren't there. I don't think, were you there? Yeah, to get our initial reaction.
I can't remember.
All right, so we opened the door. It's dark. The shades are drawn, and it was nighttime.
Yeah.
It was nighttime, and we go in. I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know where the light switches were.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what did I just buy?
Yeah.
This place hasn't been updated since the 1980s.
It was old, for sure.
But I was like, oh my god. So we're walking around. I'm like, what did I do? But anyway, we slept that night and woke up in the morning. There's daylight. I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't that bad. A little clean up here, we made it livable in the beginning. And then we came down for the winter. We had an amazing place to stay that we enjoyed. And then when we went back to New York for the summer, we had it remodeled.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Total remodel.
A full remodel.
Yeah.
So I was like, Tim, don't spend too much money, on it, because it's only a 2-bed. It's only ever going to appreciate so much. And you blew that budget right out of the water. And I have to say, it's one of the most impressive reno jobs I've seen on the island, and certainly for a beachfront condo like that.
Yes, thank you.
And so from there, I remember, so you would come down for the winters, spend, 2-3 months at a time, and then
longer. The rugby
longer,
season.
okay.
I stayed for the rugby season.
Okay, I love that.
That's how I timed it.
Yeah, okay,
rugby season started sometime in December. So,
yeah.
And then ended,
Sort of March time.
May, end of May, right?
Okay,
yeah,
May.
around this time, right?
Yeah, okay.
So I timed it for the rugby season so I can play rugby.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
And it worked out. We came down for the winters. We had a great place. We just loved it down here. More importantly, my wife loves it down here.
Yes,
It's such a great lifestyle. And at the time, we had our daughter, Tiffany.
Yeah.
So I guess she was 2-3 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was just such an easy lifestyle instead of being up in New York City where. To get anywhere, you got to walk 10 blocks this way, that way, going to the subway.
And also, everyone's like super stressed, get out my way.
Yeah.
Whereas here, I do feel people come here to ideally, work less, have a better work-life balance, and just spend more time socializing. And it's we keep going over this, but it's such an incredible place to raise a family. And everyone here is super welcoming.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, that's great. So you, during lockdown, sort of with COVID, you guys come down here to escape, New York winter.
This is before COVID, right? So we come down for the Christmas holiday.
Yes, yeah.
And then COVID started hitting around January. Then everything hit the fan.
And then we
February,
really locked
right?
down hard,
and we locked down. And now, I have an office in New York, and all my friends in New York.
Yeah.
And they're like, don't come. Don't come back.
Don't come back.
It's a ghost town.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I'm like, really? I'm like, what? They're like, not worth it. Just stay there. And this is, we're going down through lockdown. We don't know what's going to happen to the world, right? It was just a crazy time.
It was strange.
However, Cayman stepped up, locked its borders.
Yeah.
They kept us indoors for maybe a week or two too long.
Yeah.
But that's okay. At least they let us back out.
They eliminated the virus, and then once you were able to get back out, it was. I think it's the best time I've had here. Because the beaches were super empty.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you worked in tourism, not a great time. For your livelihood, but for anyone else, not. It was fantastic, and everyone's like, really banding together.
Right.
It was a great time. So I remember you. So you're living in this 2-bed on the beach, and I don't know if you'd had Max at that point. Maybe. I can't remember. No. Okay. So this was
we did
just
not.
the three of you.
No.
And you call me up. You're like, Steph, we're not going back to New York. We need a bigger house. Let's go shopping.
Yes.
And so we'd viewed a bunch of properties then, and then ended up making your second sort of real estate purchase on the island.
Yeah. We looked at again a lot of places, and my hats off to you. because let's go back. Why I'm so loyal to you, because this man took me all around Cayman in the beginning, and he ruined his nice Ferragamo shoes.
No,
because we were on.
No, the shoes that I trashed, they were cheap. They were like throwaway shoes. But
What?
we were walking across Ironshore,
Yeah.
and then it was actually one of the first gifts a client has ever given me. Tim bought me a beautiful pair of Ferragamo shoes, nice suede's ones. He's like, sorry for trashing your shoes. So that was, that really kind of solidified the bond. So I appreciate that.
So a man who's willing to ruin his shoes, nice shoes.
Yeah.
I thought they were
Well,
much nicer.
yeah, but they fooled you.
And now I know. I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I got.
Yeah.
And so I felt like with all the work you put in before, you're my man, and plus I trust you. That's even better.
Yeah.
right? And you're a rugby guy. So
Yeah.
you got to trust the rugby guy.
But I have to say, I really appreciate that, because a lot of people will shop around different agents, thinking that they're going to get the best deal, etc. But you'll get the best deals when you have loyalty from whoever it is you're doing business with, and that level of trust. And so yeah, that's certainly appreciated.
I'm the buyer.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much the same. It's the same price, no matter what. If anything, I need somebody fighting for me that I could trust, that doesn't play, the games.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and you were the guy.
Yeah.
Who did it for me. Now, all right. Let's be honest here.
Come on.
Okay, this house in South Sound. You did say, Tim, you'll never get it at that price. And I'm like,
honestly.
maybe not. But let's give it a try. It was during COVID, right?
Yeah,
Nobody knew what to expect.
Yeah.
We both. But what you did say is you'll fight for me, and you'll do your best to make it happen. And what we had going for me is, the house was not updated in the past 10 years.
No,
An investor
sure.
bought the house.
Yeah.
It was on the South Sound. It was a beautifully built house,
An
great
incredible
location.
location. Like the sunsets from there are unreal.
It was a dream come true, but there was some simple things that just was not done. Like everything was dirty on the outside. All I need is like a spray wash, a power wash
Yeah.
to get all the dirt and everything off. Even the house,
Yeah.
you do that. The seller would have made an extra million.
And even like lick of paint, like just very superficial stuff, like lick of paint, and what you've done, kind of to the exterior of the property looks fantastic.
Yeah. So what you did, and I appreciate it. It took time, and I was probably annoying about it. But the seller came down to our price.
Yeah.
And you called me, like, Tim, you're not gonna believe it. I'm like, what? He's like, he came to your price, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta pay for it now.
Yeah.
So
That's it. I remember it distinctively because, we're doing this day in, day out, and properties in the Cayman Islands are generally, there's a bit of flexibility in the price, but Tim comes with an offer. I'm like, my initial reaction was like, not a cat in hell's chance is that offer going to get accepted. But Tim comes from you heard earlier, the Chicago kind of, traders, trading floor. And so it was an aggressive offer, and I won't repeat some of the things that you said. You're like, tell them this, tell them that. I'm like, all right, okay. So went in with that, and sure enough, we got a phenomenal price for the property. So credit to you as well for really persisting with that. Looking back on it now, and that was when the market was just kind of turning. But I think
I wouldn't say just. Looking back at it,
yes,
you could say it was turning, but at the time, nobody knew.
No, true. Yeah.
The guy who owned it, his thought was Cayman was going to go into the down direction.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Because they weren't making money. They were locked down. The tourism wasn't coming in.
Yeah.
He had his opinion. Right.
Yeah.
My opinion was I saw other places in the United States that were thriving.
Yeah.
Like the people from New York City were moving out to the Hamptons.
Yeah, I
right.
saw that.
Hamptons is that area where, you get well-to-do people. They go out, they buy the houses because they don't have to work in the city. I thought you could potentially see the same here in Cayman.
Yes.
People, they come here, they're going to buy the houses because now they don't have to work in the cities.
Yeah.
At least for a little while.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Do you know what? That's exactly what happened. So people ask, how's the market down there? And I'm like, there was 6 weeks where I wasn't allowed to do any showings. And so obviously the pipeline and stuff dried up. But then after that, there was still that pent up demand. And the world is so small these days that you can work from anywhere for a lot of industries. And if people want, warmth and safety and an English speaking country, like why, instead of going to the Hamptons from New York, why not go to the Cayman Islands?
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of that.
Saying that, it's funny you say that because with traffic going out to the Hamptons,
actually, probably take you longer.
Sometimes I remember one Friday it took me almost 5 hours to get out there. It should only take 2.
Yeah, okay.
I'm like, you know what? I can go to JFK, fly down to Cayman, and be in my condo faster than being stuck
and when
in
you
traffic.
get this end, you're 5-10 minutes from the airport.
Right. It's a dream come true. This airport down here. 5-10 minutes. Boom, you're there. Right. And usually through security. If it's after, I guess that slot 10 to 12. If it's after there or before, you're through security within 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
To me, that's a dream come true. You try that in JFK.
Oh, geez.
No way. New York, no.
And
no.
how
2 hours.
How have you found running your business from here? So talk to us about that.
I love it. And I want to give Zoom a high five.
Okay,
right.
Thank you. Zoom.
What I do is here in Cayman, Tradeview Markets, there's only so many people that want to open an online account to trade the markets, right? And that's what we do. Is people want to trade stocks, forex, commodities, long term, short term. We give them a platform to trade on. It could go on their phone or on their computer, and they make the decisions. And they trade away, either long term or short term. Okay. So our operation overall here in Cayman is small, but very important to me. Now, what I do is I also have other operations around the world. We're regulated in the EU. We just got licensed in London, in the UK. So we have other offices around the world. So, again, high five to Zoom.
And not sponsored on the show. Not yet.
Okay, then Google Chat. What's the other one? And it just really changed the landscape of doing business because I would travel 6 months out of the year.
Wow.
Now, with COVID, I didn't travel at all. It was great. I can hang out with my family, enjoy life. There was no COVID in Cayman. We were able to play sports, shake hands, kiss each other if we wanted to. We didn't have that fear. But it also changed the landscape of doing business. So what I do now is just I manage my companies through here, and I trade the markets. I'm behind 8 screens all day in my pajamas. Trading away in the
looking
markets.
out over the ocean. And I guess if anything really blows up, you're a 4-hour flight away from New York. And I think that is the beauty of Cayman. Whilst it's a small island, it's a phenomenal place to do business from. And that's what we're seeing. And I think historically, so if we go back, 20, 30 years, it's a very different island from what it is today. Just the level of comfort for living, you wouldn't have had the home comforts. Whereas now it is very much home away from home. And so people are, relocating and bringing entire families down here in order to live. From an outsider coming in, you worry about, safety, security, your kids going to school. You don't know until you get here. This island is safe. Is probably the safest. I'm coming from New York City. I was going to say way safer than New York.
But the people are extremely friendly. They're very nice down here. I love it. And the house you found for me in the South Sound, the school. It's a great school, high-rated school, Montessori by the sea.
Yes. Oh, you're literally like
a minute,
60 seconds.
A minute, 40-second walk. From my house.
Incredible.
Now, New York City, it's 10-block walk to the school and
through the snow in the winter.
Here, a minute, 40-second walk. That's if I, my kid wants me to take the car. So, instead of walking, I got to take a 5-second drive to the school. My kid's getting lazy down here.
Well, they do. We have it too good down here. That's the problem.
And the more important thing is my wife loves it down here, and she has a ton of friends. That's important because New York, I don't know. It's hard to make friends because it's it's hustle.
Yeah.
Every day, right?
Yeah.
And everybody, and to do anything is so complicated because you got to go 10 blocks that way, and it takes too much planning. So people are like, I'm too busy.
And also, when you get home, I'd assume you're in your small apartment.
Yeah.
Whereas down here, I live in a complex which has a nice swimming pool and a gym, etc. And so you're naturally interacting with people all day.
Right.
And then to your point, you have the rugby club.
Play dates with my kids are only 5 minutes, 10 minutes that way.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do down here. And
I have to say, it's a fantastic place to bring up family and kids for sure. Instead of hour-long commutes each way, get back, it's already dark, kids have gone to bed, and then just create stress there.
Yes.
So on the topic of sort of family and health, last year was a really sort of not a great year for you, right? Talk to us about your sort of health scare you had.
I'm happy to speak about it because I'm alive.
And you're looking phenomenal now.
So high five to that. What happened, it was about almost a year ago. It was June 17th. I had trouble. I couldn't really swallow too well. I was having a hard time eating, drinking water. And then next thing you know, 48 hours later, my neck blows up. And I'm like, everybody's like, Tim, maybe you should go to the hospital. I'm like, oh man, I don't want to get up and go. I don't want to wait in an emergency room.
I'm
fine. I'm a rugby player, And so they got a doctor to come over to check me out at night. He's like, all right, take these pills, swallow them. I'm like, I can't really swallow them. He's like, well, if you don't swallow them, you're going to the hospital. I'm like, oh, here it goes, right down. But he's like, if you don't get better by the morning, you got to go to the hospital. So morning came, I guess where I went, to the hospital. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't drank a glass of water like in a day and a half, and I haven't eaten. I was like, oh man. So I get to the hospital, and luckily they get me in instead of in the long waiting room sometimes. After filling out, my blood pressure is practically to zero. And, but they get me there. I'm like, please give me an IV.
Give me someone to help out.
I am so thirsty.
And how was the hospital experience for you?
Well, listen. All right. So what happened is, at first, it was an infection, right, in the tonsils, right? But it started with the tonsils, then went into the neck, right? So what they thought would be a 20-minute to 1 hour procedure, it turned for the worse. So once they put me out, right, they had a hard time intubating me. And from there, it went downhill. The infection was worse. It spread throughout my neck. And then once it hit the upper chest area. Once it hits the upper chest, this kind of infection, I don't know what kind of infection it was.
Right, okay.
By the way, it's a mystery. Maybe I don't even want to know. But they don't know. They did tests, but it was they couldn't come up with the results. So, but overall, it was a deadly infection. And once it hits the chest, it's like a 5% chance of living. So, so I'm asleep, and then it went for the worst. They couldn't intubate me. They had to do an emergency tracheotomy. So they did that, and next thing you know, they put me on a respirator. They had to stabilize me because now that it went into the chest, they couldn't handle it at the hospital. So so then they had to find a let's see, a transfer to the upper chest. So I needed to get like a thoracic surgeon to treat it, right? So that here in the hospital they had a head and neck specialist. Now I need a thoracic surgeon. Because now they got to cut my chest open. So they had, thank God, Health City's here. And I owe them my life.
Quite literally.
They saved my life. because I was transferred from one hospital to the next hospital. Now, meanwhile, my wife's like, hey, it's an hour later.
Yeah.
Where's my husband?
Yeah.
3 hours later. Excuse me.
You're like, I'll be back home in a bit, honey. Don't worry.
You're like, where's my husband?
Yeah.
And she's like, excuse me, doctor. They're like, all right, sit down. They're like,
okay.
All right, we had some complications, right? There was a part where it got scary because it became serious, where I lost oxygen for a little while. They didn't know what my mental state was going to be when I woke up or if I woke up.
That's rough. Yeah.
So, there was 3 scenarios. I was going to wake up. Or it was maybe a couple more. I was going to die.
Yeah.
I was going to wake up with mental issues.
Yeah, potentially brain damage or something. Yeah.
Right. The infection. My blood work was off the charts.
Right.
And
I remember there was some kind of reading in your blood that needed to be below a certain level.
Yeah, it was something like the level was 2.0.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was like 1,000 something.
Yes.
Don't quote me on this.
Yeah. We're not here to give medical advice or
we're gonna get a doctor on the line. Line 2. I concur. So anyway, I'm sleeping during this whole process, right? So I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And they take me to Health City, and when I got there, obviously I was in bad condition. I heard the hospital, the ambulance ride over wasn't, some things went bad on the ride over.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was really in bad shape when I hit Health City. So God bless they took me in there. There was other discussions if they were going to fly me out of Cayman into Miami.
Okay.
Carol was on the phone. My wife, she was on the phone with everybody. My 2 best friends, they were calling every doctor in the United States. We had people ready in Miami. They had a plan A, they had a plan B, but they had a plan C. And, the great thing is, make sure, and this goes out to all the viewers, choose your friends wisely, all right? Because they may save your life one day.
Yeah, genuinely.
I was helpless because I was sleeping. I couldn't make any decisions.
Yeah.
So my life was in their hands, and they did a great job. And then my local friend, Michael, right, a comedian, luckily he's like, hey, Health City is a really good place. And he listened to the doctors, and he helped my wife talk to all the doctors, and they made, not only did they make the right decision, they hit the nail on the head.
Right.
They started treating me in the ICU. They gave me the right antibiotic. And you don't know if your blood levels come down. It takes 2-3 days for the antibiotics to work. 4 hours later, the level was coming down a little bit. Like, wait, this is a good sign, because the next step was the surgery for cut my chest open and start sucking the pus out. I don't know. So anyway. After through all this, it's 3 days later now. I'm still sleeping.
Well, for a 1-hour surgery. Yeah.
I'm still sleeping. And then, I didn't have any outer body experience, right? People ask me that, right?
Okay.
I didn't, right? I don't remember a thing.
Yeah.
But one thing I do remember, when I was about to wake up, right? I thought in my head, man, I better wake up. I got to get out of this. Wake up,
Yeah, okay.
And then, boom, I woke up, and luckily my wife was there. She's there, and she's like, Tim, calm down. And, and I couldn't speak, right, because I had a tracheotomy. I was on a respirator.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely not going to speak on that thing. That thing's, so I laugh at it now because, it's, I can,
it's
why not?
A story.
And then she's like, all right, calm down. She's like, they had to do a tracheotomy. You're all right. You're going to be okay, blah, blah, blah. So they started lifting me up in the bed. I started getting my eyesight back. And, opened my eyes, and, I couldn't speak, but I know what I was thinking. I was like, where the heck am I? I'm like, this isn't where I started. And I was looking around, and there were 6 surgeons, standing by my bed. And I'm like, all right, I'm like, put my finger and hand out. I'm like, pen, I can't speak.
To write.
Yeah, I'm like,
to communicate.
I'm like, pen, paper, but, saying it with my hand and, just, hand like a paper.
Yeah.
And, they brought me a piece of paper and a pen, right? And they're all looking at me funny. I'm like, why are they looking at me so funny? I'm like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
And she's like, and they're not telling me the story because they didn't think I can handle it yet.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my God, do I have cancer? Right? They're like, and then, they're like, no. I'm like, oh. But they told me later on,
Yeah.
like,
Cancer might have been better.
Least of their worries, So, and then I wrote, am I going to live? Right? And then the doctors were shaking their head, no. Right? Now, in India, when you ask a question, that means yes.
Yes, that's a good thing. Oh my God,
So am I gonna live? He's like, and they're shaking their head no. And Carol's like, yes, you'll be fine. And they're shaking their head no. I'm like, wait, what's he doing in the?
I get mixed messages
tell him to come here right now. So and then I still had a long way to recover.
Yeah, for sure.
The crazy thing, I was just hooked up to like 10,000 wires.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, what did they do to me? Dude. So,
well, honestly, I have to say, I remember finding out about it from, I think Facebook, either you or Carol did a post or something.
Yeah.
And I called you. I was like, dude, what happened? You're right. He's like, I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah.
I
was a millimeter away from death. That's the way my brother explains it to me.
Yeah.
But I was in the ICU for a bunch of days, and the one thing I do remember is there was a clock near my bed.
Okay.
And I think I watched every tick of that clock.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hospital's a soul destroying place. But
I'm like, am I out of here yet? No.
How grateful are you, and just we generally living on the island, that healthcare here is phenomenal? Because if you were on a smaller Caribbean island, like, you wouldn't have had that.
Listen, Hell City, the care was phenomenal.
Yeah, nice.
They had, in the ICU, I couldn't speak, and half the time I had trouble breathing.
Yeah.
Right? These tubes get clogged up.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was tap on the bed.
Yeah.
They'd come running over.
Yeah.
There were 2 times when, I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And they came running over and, getting the suction machine out.
Oh man, that is not fun.
But they saved my life again.
Like,
but any other hospital, I don't know, you could say that.
Yeah.
Especially in the United States, right?
Yeah.
Do the nurses pay that much attention to you? Here, there were 2. They were watching me like
Around
a
the clock.
hawk.
Yeah.
And they came, in the nick of time with like twice. I'm like, I feel, because of that, I was able to sleep at night because I felt comfortable. They're watching me because I was scared. Not be able to breathe is a scary thing.
Yeah.
But the great thing is overall is that the antibiotics working, the blood levels started coming down. I started getting better, right? They thought I was going to be in there for about 2 months in the ICU. That's how bad I came in.
Yeah, okay.
I was in there for 10 days, and then they put me in a separate room. They closed up the holes. They put me in a separate room, and then I'm like, hey, I want to go home.
Yeah. Honestly, and I was keen to sort of chat about that, but it's just so thankful that we had the medical kind of care on island, and B, that you've come through it completely unscathed.
Right.
So how
one thing, everybody reached out to me.
Yeah.
All my friends here in Cayman, all my rugby buddies in Cayman, you reached out to me. Everybody that it was just amazing the support I got, and everybody trying to reach out to me, at least on WhatsApp or Facebook or whatever. And then the one thing I was asking, I asked you, like, Tim, anything I could do for you, anything. I'm like, get me a diet peach Snapple.
Yeah.
Like, what? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I the first thing I want to drink, I couldn't drink for 10 days. I'm on my 10th day, no drinking.
Yeah.
I'm so thirsty. I'm like, but first thing I wanted to drink was a diet peach Snapple.
Yeah.
And guess what? There was no diet peach Snapple.
The island was out. Like, when you mentioned that, every cafe I went to or gas station, I was like, diet peach Snapple. No, all out. And then I remember I saw a bunch at Foster's and cleaned out the shelf. I was like, all right, here you go.
Yeah.
But so coming through that, and I've certainly seen a bit of a change. You've always been a pretty upbeat, jovial, happy-go-lucky kind of guy. But how has that experience shifted your outlook on life, and then also your investment philosophy?
Yeah, Yeah, that's a good question. My what affected me the most is my kids almost lost the father.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah.
what would they do? My wife too almost lost the husband. It definitely changed my view on many things. So, I took a little step back from the business, not a big step, just a little step. I delegate more, and I decided, I wanted to cash in, buy a little bit more real estate, to give my family some security, knowing there's something going to be around if in case I disappear or something happens. And that's where you came in. We did.
So we reconnected again.
We bought some more things.
It was, and I remember the conversation. You're like, so I'm kind of, after everything that's happened, I'm in a bit of an estate planning mode. So I need to buy some real estate, get some passive income coming in.
Right.
And so, we went shopping and bought a few apartment complexes. And how are they sort of working out for you?
Yeah, no, one of them, I have a view of 7 Mile, right?
Yes.
And it's toward the east
I
end.
love that property.
It's a diamond in the rough, right? It's a beautiful. The view is beautiful. So we put some lipstick on it, painted it up, fixed it up, and that's the thing. I'm okay at taking on projects.
Yeah, and you've also, I feel as though you've been here a while now.
Yeah.
You've got a good team of guys that can do that for you.
Yeah, and I hired a management company to deal with it.
Yeah.
And to they made it an Airbnb.
Yeah, smart.
So because somebody checks in and they complain about not having coffee.
Your
the last
time
thing
is
I want is a
valuable.
call. I'm
to
like,
be dealing
I
with
gotta
that.
take the call.
Yeah,
or if they're
absolutely.
locked out, I'm like,
and this is a true one. Like guests will check into Airbnbs. They'll arrive. They'll be like, "Pillow's too hard." So the manager's like, "Okay, well there are 2 pillows there, hard and soft. Figure it out." But you don't want to be getting bogged down with that. And I think that's a good point. Actually, a lot of people, will buy real estate as an investment, and everyone's looking, or a lot of people are looking for this passive income lifestyle. But real estate is not, a strictly passive investment. It takes you've got to be on top of it, even if you do have managers in place. I feel.
yeah.
So you've got a good manager.
You
with
know,
that.
if life's not easy.
No, you got to work.
You gotta work hard.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And you're, 1 or 2 years older than me, so you've got a bit more experience. But I think the generation and now just want to they've been sold this dream of the passive lifestyle where you work 1 hour a day and you can do it from your bed. And I just don't know how much of a reality that is. And I think a lot of people have been sold a lie, which is where the entitlement and whatever else comes in. But I guess we'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah.
Very good. You've seen Cayman sort of evolve a lot over the years. What are you seeing sort of on your end in terms of changes to the island?
It's a great island. It's well capitalized island. I feel my investments are very safe and secure.
Yeah.
Here, real estate I think is a great investment. And real estate doesn't always go up, but I'd say I'm a bit of a gambling man. I'm betting the future on this island.
Yeah, for sure.
I have an investment in this island. I'm betting it's going up.
Do you have any advice for business owners looking to relocate to the Cayman Islands or families?
Again, let's get back on, life's tough.
Yeah.
You got to work hard.
Yeah.
So my advice is, don't be an entrepreneur. Don't be a business owner. Go work for somebody, have an easy life.
Right. Yeah.
That's my advice.
Yeah. No,
all
agreed.
right. However, if you're like me, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You want to create, you want to do things, this is a great town to do it.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I think there is a lot of opportunity here, and it's I think because it is a small island, you have to be entrepreneurial. And so it definitely benefits a lot of that entrepreneurial spirit. And I think also when it comes to opening a business here, and we've all seen the movies. Like we've been sold a lie about Hollywood being, oh, it's super easy just to open a bank account in the Cayman Islands and open a business and you're good to go. Like there's a lot of layers of red tape. It's not quite as easy as they make out in the movies. So I would say, do your due diligence well ahead of time. You can't just rock up here and open a bank account and start a business and move here. Takes time.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah. Well, and I know that you had your sort of pain points with that. One thing we haven't touched on yet, which I'm very excited about, the vlog. So I see you coming here with the selfie stick. My wife actually, she said, have you seen Tim's new vlog? I was like, no, I haven't. She showed it to me. I freaking love it. Honestly, it's incredible. Talk to me about that.
All right. So, I'm 52.
Yeah.
I'm a business owner. Mm-hmm. I have a marketing team.
Yeah.
And, they're pushing me to do this.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I just want to put my head under the sand and leave me alone. Let me trade the markets, and go on with my life. They're like, no, Tim, you got to give it a try. I'm like, all right, fine, but I'm just gonna be boring about it. I'm gonna. So I filmed my trip flying to New York City. I'm like, here I am in the airport. I complain on the way.
Yeah.
Here I am in New York City in the traffic. Here I am in the New York office.
Yeah.
Here I am on the plane again.
But
here I am transferring. It actually, when the marketing team put it together, it actually came out.
It looks great. It's
kind of
super captivating.
Yeah.
I have to say, I watched the whole thing, and I'm not just saying this. Like, I was completely sold on it, and it was like, I know you fairly well, but it was actually quite interesting seeing, behind the scenes of, a day in the life of you. So no, I really appreciated that. So yeah, that was cool. Local shout outs. Who do you think deserves a shout out on the island? One company or group?
Yeah. There's two things I support here on the island, right? Women's rugby.
Yeah.
I'm a big supporter. Our company helps them any way they can. Mm-hmm. I think it was about 2-3 years ago, they came to me, they asked for support because they wanted to restart the women's rugby program.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm in. I'm in. I'll help you. We'll help give money. And one of the people they wanted to bring down was Mercedes Foy. Right? She played rugby for England. She was even part of the World Cup winning squad, and they wanted to bring her down. So I paid for it.
Okay.
Right? Or I helped finance it. Right? And I became the main sponsor for women's rugby. Then, Caroline Deegan, she was the pioneer of developing the women's rugby program in Cayman. And I think what she's doing great. So now Caroline and Mercedes came to me. They wanted to bring Shauna Brown down. Now, Shauna Brown, same thing, a former English rugby union player. She's a motivational speaker. She's a positive force, just a positive person all around, and great for women's rugby. Now, she came for 5 months, and because I had these apartments,
oh, okay,
I gave her a place to live for free.
Nice.
And I help bring her down here, and she, so their job is to tell people, no matter what one's shape, size, culture, or background, there's a space for everyone in rugby.
Yeah.
And they're out at the schools showing the girls that, hey, there's this game called rugby. It's an amazing sport. And to see the woman get involved in it, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And we just got so lucky with Mercedes and Shauna, taking. They're such positive people.
Oh, they're great. Yeah.
The girls to see this and be involved in this is a great thing.
And also to have access to such incredible athletes, and literally women that have played at the highest level.
Right.
It's fantastic.
Right.
Yeah.
What they're doing is it's empowerment to women and to give girls confidence.
Yeah. Nice.
And then luckily we had I sponsored a party it was the end of season party, under 18s at the house I bought.
Okay.
That you got.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And actually, I will say,
Yeah.
and I don't know if this was like post-hospital visit or whatever, but Tim throws the best parties, and it seems like there's a handful a year, but you're always, keen, like entertaining and hosting. So yeah.
Yeah, when my birthday comes along, it's a good party.
Yeah.
Oh, you missed my wife's birthday party.
I did.
Yeah.
I think we were off island
Yeah.
at that point. But yes.
Yeah, see, the thing is, my wife keeps, I want to invite everybody, the whole town, right? But my wife gives me a number limit.
Oh, already? It's like your wedding. You're capped.
I'm like, what?
Okay.
I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
And then her sisters are like, Carol, let Tim invite more people, But I say it in a joking way, but we have a good time because there's good people here on the island.
Yeah,
and it's just great to get together with them in that kind of setting.
Well, I feel as though you definitely do make the most of life, and it's great to see. Sort of immersing in the island and creating a better place for everyone. Where would you say? Just a couple of quick fire questions here. Where's the best place to live on the island?
Wow.
Because you've lived on 7 Mile and South Sound, and spent a bit of time in East End.
Yeah. All right. So it depends what kind of person you are.
Yeah. Okay.
If you like to be where all the action is, right? You like the sunsets. You like where all the restaurants are. That's 7 Mile, right? Yeah. It's beautiful there. No doubt about it.
There's a reason it's the most expensive real estate on the island is because it is fantastic. Yeah. 7 Mile Beach.
Now, the residents who work and stay in Cayman, a lot of them buy a place on the South Sound.
Yeah.
And South Sound's beautiful.
Yeah.
I love it there. It's a little bit more peaceful, away from the hustle and bustle of 7 Mile. And it's growing. And the good part is now there's more restaurants opening out there.
I agreed.
Because there's only one out there.
Yeah. So 7 Mile Beach.
Well, one that I go to,
7 Mile Beach, you've got all the hotels, etc. So during the winter months, there's a lot of tourists, which is great, and it's also super expensive. Yeah. So if you move to somewhere like South Sound or even West Bay or even further east, you get a lot more for your money. I live in South Sound myself, and I just feel as though what you get value-wise and also community-wise is fantastic. So no, I'd agree with you on that.
And now the East End is more of the beachy feel. Kind of reminds me of like Cape Cod. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more of the beachy feel, beach house. You see sand all over the place.
Yeah.
What I like about East End is, when we first got the house, the first day, I think 5 of the neighbors came over to say hello.
Yeah.
Everybody's friendly there.
Yeah.
Everybody's friendly, and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's quiet out there. There's no light pollution. I mean, it gets, when there's no moon out, it's dark.
Yes.
The stars are shining.
Incredible. Yeah,
it's like, oh my God, I can't see my hand in front of my face. It's like, but that's the peaceful, beautiful thing about it out there.
Yeah. I agree. Like, the island is diverse in its own way, and the reality is, even East End, is what, 45-minute drive, maybe an hour.
No. Well, I'm coming from the South Side.
Oh, from
so
South
it's shorter
Side.
for me. So that's a plus for me. It's a shorter drive. 35 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. 35 minutes. Which again, people think, oh, East End, it's so far away. It's 35 minutes, 45 minutes. It's really not far at all. Okay. And then, what is your favorite place for sundowners on the island?
You can't. 7 Mile, you can't beat.
Well, that's because 7 Mile is
going
west
to
facing.
Kimpton, going to that.
Cocoloba on the beach there.
That's a great place.
Cocoloba, and I personally, I think Tilly's is a phenomenal spot.
Yeah.
Big fan of Tilly's. Okay, and I remember there was a party that you had. I can't remember the occasion, but your sister-in-law was playing the saxophone, and the sunset that night was unreal.
Yes.
I still have photos on my phone. It was just like bright orange.
Yeah.
That was insane. And then final question, what do you love most about Cayman? What's the difference?
It's an easier life.
Yeah.
It's a peaceful life.
Yeah.
I feel super safe down here.
Yeah.
You know, I have 2 kids. You know, everybody keeps an eye on them.
Yeah.
You know, if it's not me, it's other parents.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great community, and you know, everywhere on the island, people are friendly. You know, I drove out to the East End. This was years ago. There was a gas station, and the attendant was the friendliest human being ever.
Yeah.
Right. I think they did a story on him. I'm not sure. This was years ago, and this is like, oh my God, what's wrong with this guy? You know, I'm from New York. So what's he up to?
Yeah.
No, he just happened to be the friendliest human in the world, and he lives here in Cayman.
Yeah.
So you know that's where I learned Cayman kind.
Yeah.
And then I see that, you know, I see that everywhere here.
And I think the island is fantastic for that. And I think it's because, people do work incredibly hard here. And I think that's a bit of a misconception. But it just, when you're not at work, you know, your stress levels decrease significantly, which then when you're out and about socializing, makes you a better person, or certainly it makes me a better person.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I think, you've echoed a lot of my sentiments from the island. Just such a fantastic place to live, work, and the safety aspect is something that keeps coming up in these conversations and something that we really take for granted on a daily basis. But safety, healthcare, education are all first class. And one of few of the many reasons we love the island. So what is next for Tim Fury? The vlog is obviously going to continue to gain traction. If marketing will continue to badger you to do that.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
You know,
and where can people find you on Instagram? You guys are at TradeView.
Yeah, just Google TradeView Markets.
Yeah, TradeView Markets.
Look on LinkedIn, TradeView Markets.
Yeah, okay.
Or Tim Fury.
Yeah,
you know, it's easy to find.
Yeah,
and then if you want to see the silliness I put out there, go ahead. It's not on purpose.
Go check out the vlog. I love them. I think they're great.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you very much for your kind of loyalty over the years. It's been fantastic getting to know you on a personal level, but then also, on a business level as well. Look forward to the portfolio of properties that you're building. Hopefully there'll be a few more purchases in there as well.
Yeah, I'm still young, right? I'm alive, right?
Like born again.
Yeah, I got more to do, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I'm born again.
Yeah.
So this is the first 10 months of my new life. And so far, so good. Yeah.
Nice. Well, it's good to see you here.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Looking well. And thanks for coming in and chatting.
All right, buddy.
Alrighty.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
All right.